And Margaret, starting live on the interwebs. Yay. Trying to boot things up, trying to get things rolling. They're making copyright claims on a couple of my posts. A couple of my posts because I don't know. It's classical music. As in, the original composers have been dead for over a century. But they're still hitting me up for copyright claims. Apparently, the people that play the classical music don't have a claim on the classical music, but they have a claim on the recording of the classical music. Just one of those 10,000 hair splitting distinctions. Okay, for some reason this is not. I can't figure out why the music is not playing through the speakers. I cannot figure out why this. It's playing in my headphones, but it's not playing out over the internet. It's not playing through the broadcast, and I can't figure that out. Testing, testing. I've not been feeling. It has not been a good week. It's not been a good anything. I've not been feeling well the past couple of days. I just feeling tired, worn out, and frankly, I said screw it, no broadcast. Uh, Plus, I'm currently in the middle of a course of antibiotics and a course of probiotics at the same time. This is apparently standard procedure now. It's like rock'em sock'em robots for your colon. Anyway, I can't stand it. I play, okay. It's been a copyright week for me. Okay, a couple of my broadcasts, they're jerking my chain because I played classical music in the background, and apparently, whoever there might be a copyright claim against you. Uh, Classical music composers have been 100 years dead, and I'm still getting hit up for it. And now I'm dealing with crap from film fiction. I'm through with them. I'm through with them. I am in the process of transferring my fan fictions over to fanfiction.net. The site is not as well run. It is not as user friendly, not by a long shot, but at least it is not run by a bunch of jackasses. Filmfiction.net is run by a bunch of whiny, pedantic little children. They jumped aboard the social justice warrior train and rode it hard. I was always a controversial figure there because I am conservative and Christian, and neither of those things is popular anywhere. But up until the last year, so they managed to pretend to behave impartially. But now they're using every scrap of arbitrary nonsense they can come up with to obstruct my stories. They ignore abuses committed against me, including people posting obscenity, profanity, vulgarity in my forums, people uh, posting my stories in porn story lists. Various other abuses, and up to and including somebody who posted a porno. It was a pedophile incest story using my likeness as one of the characters. It stayed up for literal months while people pointed out, complained to the mods. I pointed out and complained to the mods, and they sat around with their thumbs up their sphincters, going, "I don't see what you're talking about." They're snotty little children. And my most recent story I posted, they accused me once again of plagiarism. I went back in, I made modifications to the story twice, resubmitted it twice, and they are saying that I made no changes. They are blocking the story, and one particular mod by the name of Meester, Meester, has informed me that he is going to see to it that I am banned if I submit the story again. The crop of mods that they have on that site is in collaboration. One of them is leading them around by the crotch and getting them to do whatever he wants. So, screw them. I'm going to be spending a good bit of time transferring my stories over. I'm going to have to do it by hand, cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. One chapter at a time to do it, to get it into fanfiction. Fanfiction.net is its interface is outdated. It's like a decade old. It really needs a facelift. But I would rather deal with the people on fanfiction than the man children who are running film fiction. I've had it with them. And I'm going to make a point of telling every writer, every fanfiction author, I'm going to tell you, I am going to make a point of telling people to stay away from that site because it has become toxic. There are other things wrong with that site that I turned a blind eye to because I sat there and going, "Oh well, it doesn't affect me directly. I'm not in those particular forums. I'm not on that particular page. I'm not in that particular list." No, they've made it my problem now. I'm not a happy man, in case you haven't guessed. They will let any stank smut slut on the planet into that website, posting stories that would get you arrested on 99% of the countries on this planet for their content, for their nastiness. But what you they'll tolerate all sorts of abuses. But you know, since I'm not one of the politically correct, I'm not one of the anointed few, one of the social justice warriors in their little circle jerk. I am persona non grata, and I am fair game for any abuses they want to commit. I'm tired of having my stories. I generate millions of hits a day, tens of millions on their website. The least of my stories pulls in as much as entire websites elsewhere. And I'm sick of being on a website that a handful of people are using as their personal sex toy. What I mean by that, and more than just literally, I mean they abuse it and the people on it for their own personal gratification. But wait, Ralph, tell us what you really think of them. I've just been informed of archive of our own. If they take, okay, bookmark this baby. I'm looking at archive of our own, archiveofourown.org. Uh, it might be a good place to start too. So I'll look into that. I'm sick of this crap. I'm sick of. I'm ashamed of myself for turning a blind eye to all the other things that were going on, but I figured every other place on the internet was going to be just the same. So there you have it. Here I am, and, just with a sour, upset stomach and feeling like crap. case you were wondering, here, let me show you the cover. This is the cover art that somebody did for the latest story I wrote. Originally, somebody else wrote somebody else wrote a fan fiction where Starlight Glimmer, because of her meddling around with time, she basically got stuck in a time loop. Every day at 8:15 a.m. she reappears and starts back over, and 18 hours later she disappears. So every day she starts over as if the previous, and it was very grimdark and very bleak, and the ending was, just, well, grimdark. Sums it up. And so I was inspired. I hit on, the whole story goes with them basically struggling to find a solution. They never find a solution, and she literally outlives the entire planet. And death and final darkness and everything else. And I came up with a different version with a tiny change in the premise. As part of the story, the first few paragraphs from the original were included, so that the reader would know where the story was taking off from. And well, let's see. That wasn't the first accusation. The first accusation, I got it sent back. They rejected it. They said it needs to be rated teen. Needs to be rated teen. There was no sex, no sex, no gore, nothing that would justify it being called teen. But I said, okay, fine, whatever. I posted, I moved the rating up to teen and posted on there, rated teen by order of the mods, and posted it back up, and the story went up. Ta-da! Everybody started reading it. Everybody liked it, and then they pulled it back down again. Accusing me of plagiarizing the first few chapters. I said, here we go again. Okay, so fine. I go back in. I change this. I've rewritten the first. I had already rewritten the opening paragraphs, but they apparently decided that wasn't enough. That it wasn't changed enough. So I went back in and did it again. At this point, this was my third change to the story. And I changed as much as I thought I could, and admitted it again. And they rejected it again. And Meester, Meester, one of the mods, sent me a private message informing me he was sick of me and that this was my last warning. And that he was going to see it that I was blocked permanently if I, basically just threatened me if I didn't, if I tried to submit it again. In other words, this has been playing out just like it played out with the previous short story I wrote. The short story revision, Yes, It Matters. So, long story short, they're being dicks to me again. And I've had it. I have put up with incredible abuse from the people on the website. I've put up with the negligence and the bigotry and the bias on part of the administrative staff. It is run by a bunch of childish, overgrown infants. And I am sick of it. I'm going to personally dedicate as much time as I can to warning any writer out there away from this website. Because they apparently think nothing of abusing you. They think nothing of showing blatant favoritism. They think nothing of hosting every imaginable form of smut imaginable in their quote unquote adult forms. They think nothing of flaunting their biases. It's just terrible. And they think nothing of ignoring for them, accusation, the rules about things like plagiarism and so on they those are just tools for them to harass the writers they don't like, because there have been other writers in this world. I have had my own work plagiarized, almost word for word, for its entire chapters, lifted and pilfered. I didn't throw much of a fuss because I could see the guy was an amateur writer and he was just trying out his writing legs. And I said, try to change up. I just told him, try and change up a few things. What I'm saying is they don't care. The rules are only there for them to show favoritism to their friends, and to their fellow pervert travelers. Uh, I should have paid attention to myself long ago and never even joined the site. But I convinced myself that, oh well, it doesn't matter. No matter where you go in the air, it's going to be the same no matter where you go. That that you're going to have the these kind of things going on in the background. You can't get away from it even in real life. So I just so I'll just sit here. I'll just sit here in my little corner, write my little stories, read my little fan fictions, and mind my own business. And this is how it's panned out. Once they hear that I'm leaving the site, I can tell you there's going to be hundreds of little wrigglers on that site who are just going to practically sprong wood in celebration of the fact that I'm leaving. Yes, I'm being crude. It's a crude world. Put on some hip waders and prepare accordingly. That just goes out there to anybody out there is getting the vapors over the words of it. He said, what? Oh, oh, here's words that you'll find in the Bible. Him that pisseth against a wall. Moving on. Right there in your King James, boy. It's interesting how fussy and hoity-toity we've gotten over the centuries. In the Bible, they called a whore, a bastard, and there was no bones about it. I think half the message we sent out is watered down by the fact we use watered down words to describe what we're talking about. In case you haven't guessed, I'm feeling kind of bitter. Who, me? No. See, commissions, Old Vic. Okay, if Daniel Meyer, if you ever come on, if you're coming on to today, the orientation on this one is going to be a little bit different. It's just going to be like a 4 square sideways thingy. It just looks, it just sort of fits better on the screen that way. Let me get my drawing pad. There's dust everywhere. I need. Should have made an appointment with the doctor last week, but I didn't. Try to make it this week. Now I'm going to be seeing him at the end of the month. Man, why is it every let's see. This makes like the 3rd time I've tried to call in to make an appointment with my doctor, and he's been off someplace. Oh, he'll be back next week. Great. That's it. When I go to the doctor's, next time I go to the doctor's, I'm going right across the hallway and find out if the doctor, his competitor, right across the hallway is taking patients. I've had it. I've had it with him, too. Now, I'm a jackass. I know it. I'm insufferable. I'm stubborn. I'm biased. I'm self-righteous. I'm sanctimonious. Hey, guess what? Welcome to the jungle. After a certain point, I have reached a point where I quit caring what an awful person I am. And I've decided, you don't like what kind of awful person I am? Hey, guess what? You're the one making the money. I'm paying, you're taking. Got a whole world full of offended people. I ain't got time for even half of y'all. Come on. Nobody gives a crap that I'm offended. Nobody on the planet cares when I'm offended, when my faith is insulted, when my beliefs are mocked or belittled, where my sensibilities are violated. Nobody cares. Tell me again why I'm supposed to care about everybody else's. How many of you sitting out there with your personally offended selves can look in a camera or or speak into a microphone and say, "I was the subject of somebody else's kiddie porn story"? How many of you can say that? How many of you can say somebody used me as a character in a kiddie porn story that they posted on the internet as revenge? Revenge for what? Revenge for me not agreeing with them about something. How many of you can say that? How many of you have to put up with people accusing you? Every 5 minutes, it's a new story about how, people. Every 5 minutes, people who won't take the blame for how their children are behaving are blaming me for something that my ancestors did 100 years before I was born. I'm supposed to take the blame for things done by people who have been dead 100 years, or 100, 200, 1,000 years, when they won't even take blame for what their kids did last week. Every pervert, sicko, and freak on the planet standing in line. We hate you, Ralph. You're a stupid bigot. You're a stupid misogynist, cisgender, blah, 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 blah. I and every other person in my lineage before me for 2,000 years been telling them, don't do this, you will die. It will kill you. It is bad. Then they go out and do it. And it kills, and it kills them or sickens them or leaves them crippled and maimed for life, and they come back and go, we hate you. I love how people, oh, you haven't suffered persecution. You don't know what persecution is. Oh, shut up. So, what is, you check us. What's the threshold here? At what point are we supposed to stop saying, that didn't hurt? They steal from us. They throw our children in prison for protesting their baby killing mills. They brainwash our children to hate us and to despise our advice and guidance. They burn down our churches. Oh, that's the thing. You remember a few years back they tried to make a big deal. All these black churches are being burned. It must be racism. And then they found out that more white churches were being burned down than black, and suddenly it was no longer a news story. You see, it's a news story if black people's churches are being, but the fact that churches in general are just being burned down, oh, that's nothing big. They're out there cutting off our people's heads. But because we're not getting our heads cut off right here in Main Street, USA, we're not supposed to say we're being persecuted. I don't say I'm not trying to. I'm being persecuted because they're picking on my stories. I'm saying this is the same bullcrap treatment Christians get everywhere in the society that we built. And yet somehow we're childish for complaining about it. If I don't need somebody to pluck my eye out before I complain when they stick their thumb in, okay? We got people who have had who have been destroyed. They have had their businesses, their livelihood taken away because they wouldn't bake a cake. For a couple of faggots. And you know what the kicker is in most of those? The kicker is that the ones who wanted the cake baked literally traveled in from another county. They had like a half dozen bakeries that would have taken their order right where they lived. They traveled all the way. They did it deliberately to cause an incident. But oh, you're not living in a state of persecution. I've had people, dumbasses, come up to me and say, "Oh, you claim that white people are being persecuted in this country. You outnumber us 10-1." Well, yeah, big frickin' deal. That doesn't mean you're not being persecuted just because you outnumber the people persecuting you. I hate to break it to you, but the slaves in the South outnumbered the slave owners a few 100-1. That didn't change the direction the abuse was going, did it? The Jews in Germany outnumbered the Nazis thousands to one. Didn't change who was stuffing who in the ovens now, did it? Most of the abuse of people in this world isn't of a majority over a minority. It's of an elite over the majority. We've got a handful of people who have literally taken root in Washington, D.C., and another handful who have lived half a century in Hollywood, and the rest of their ilk scattered among the newspaper industries and the TV broadcasting stations. They own the media. They own the educational system. They own the government. And the rest of us outnumber them hundreds of thousands to one. But which way are the police batons swinging? Who's on the receiving ends of the beatings, of the lootings in the name of public domain? Who is on the receiving end of the IRS? Hello? They talk about they talk about racism and sex and classes and all this other abuse. It's not about a minority being abused. It's almost never about a minority. It's about the majority being persecuted by a privileged elite. Now look at what I'm talking about on this stupid film fiction site. I have had hundreds of people look at I've had hundreds of people come out and expressly state, I've said these people are picking on me, and these other people are going, he's right. This is crap. You're abusing the rules. You're abusing your privilege. You're abusing your power, and it makes absolutely jack shit no difference. Why? Because we're all under the thumb of a handful, not even a half dozen mods. And they're sycophants in the masses. What is this? You don't have to be a minority to be oppressed. In fact, minorities are rare. How often is it actually a minority, quote unquote, that's being persecuted? The African American community being oppressed by the laws of the federal government. Was that the majority of white people persecuting the black people? No, it was a minority of racists in power. It only takes a handful of people to make a situation absolutely, just absolute crap. When you say you're afraid of the government, you're not afraid of the government. You're not really afraid of the government. Have you seen those? Have you seen the people in Congress? You run down that list. You look at them. You look at them straight up. You can say, I could take that one. You could take half of them in a fight. What you're scared of is all the frightened little people that do whatever they say. That's how their power works. They get everybody to obey by convincing everybody that somebody else will kick their ass if they don't. You're not afraid that you're not afraid that Ted Kennedy is going to kick in your front door. You're worried that his goon squad is, and every single member of his goon squad is scared to death that another goon squad is going to kick their door in if they don't do exactly as Ted Kennedy says. That's the secret to all their power. If enough people decide at the same time to not listen to some asshole, that asshole has no power. How many of you have seen the movie? This old comedy movie, Zorro and the Gay Blade. Zorro and the Gay Blade. It was a comedy movie. It was a spoof of Zorro. Zorro, it's supposed to be. It's set in the future. It's set shortly after Zorro dies of old age, and he has two sons, and he passes the heritage on to his first son, who finds, holy crap, my dad's Zorro, and and the government has gone corrupt again and crooked again, and so Zorro has to arise again. Unfortunately, Zorro, in his first outing, breaks his ankle, and he can't do anything, obviously. Uh, so he calls his brother, his fruitcake of a brother, to come in and stand for him. And so basically, the whole movie is about those two swapping off the role of Zorro. At the end of the movie, the big climatic battle, uh, it's the two Zorros and a handful of prisoners who were about to be executed against the commandant and all his men. And as the fight goes on, more and more of the peasants join in, until finally it's the commandant and like a half dozen guards versus everybody else. And he looks around and he says, "Men, arrest everybody!" And the men finally, and the soldiers finally figure out which way the wind's blowing. They turn around and point their guns at him. Beautiful illustration of just where tyrants get their power and just how easily it can be done to undermine them. But you never see that. You almost never see that happen in real life. It takes it takes a war. It takes a revolution. It takes bloodshed and pain and drama and all this other crap. Whether you're talking some petty, whether you're talking some major tyrant who rules a tin pot dictatorship, or one little petty online internet tyrant dork. It's all why is it this is my question, why is it always got to be a pain in the ass to unseat people who abuse their power? Just would somebody say something? Okay, I've got two watchers here. Would either one of you say something? Participate. We do this every episode. We do this every show. I talk and nobody responds. This is a two-way thing. I need the feedback. Okay? Please. right now, right now, I just want to. I am feeling so lazy. I'd like to blame it on the weather. I'd like to blame it on the time of year. I don't know. I just want to, curl up and pretend the rest of the world doesn't exist for a few weeks. I don't want to do nothing. That's my problem. I don't want to do anything anymore. Sat here ordering takeout. Just I need a start button. I need a restart button. That's what I need. My whole life needs a restart button.
Father, Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Completely out. I was sure species hibernated, I do. We gotta be up and active and drag our worn out butts through the winter. Don't know if you can hear the music or not. it gets rougher every day. It really does. I just don't know where people get the energy these days. I don't. See people twice my age with twice my scars. half a degree from useless right now. I really am. Just tanking out. Keep trying for a little bit longer. Oof. Beg pardon. Thank you, Broders. Thank you, Anna Broders, for the compliment. It's a damn shame that the people who are supposed to be in charge of film fiction are being such a bunch of prats. I'm going to be posting it. I'm going to be moving. I've got a fanfiction.net a fanfiction.net account. I'm looking into this place. It's called Archive of Our Own. I'm going to check it out, see what it's like, see if it's a better fit. Because I've had it with film fiction. And I'm warning. Yeah, I'm warning. I'm just warning every writer or fantasy. Just stay away from film fiction. That they're using ads. They're making money off of me, and they're treating me like this. Because one of their members, it's got to be at least one of their members is one of these little social justice warriors, mama boys, who's just in a state of bilious fury that there is a conservative anywhere on his quote unquote website, and he's been looking all in there and have been looking all this time for a way to throw me out. Because so they consider it as a we got rid of the Nazi, ding dong, the witch dead. And I am a mean enough SOB. I am an uncharitable enough person. I'm just going to be. I will not miss an opportunity to pee in their cornflakes. Oh, it's vindictive, but it's also the truth, which plays against them all the way around. They've proven themselves to be a bunch of nasty little man children with no principles. They'll abuse their power with their current crop of mods. The site admin, I'm holding him accountable because it's his mods that he selected. It's a damn shame. There are hundreds of really good writers on that site, but they get to as long as they're willing to put up with having these people film a turd sandwich. Everybody gonna say, you made yourself hard to deal with. I did not make myself hard to deal with. I expected the bare minimum. And they delivered on that. They gave me the absolute minimum. They dragged their heels whenever I had a problem. And they just practically peed themselves like an excited puppy every time somebody else claimed to have a problem with me. And anytime they had an excuse to give me grief. Some of the crap I have put up with from them and from their website and from the people patronizing their website probably legally actionable. And that's no joke. And if you think I'm exaggerating, I want you to consider the fact that one of the things I've had to put up with is them posting and hosting a story, a pedophile incest story on their website featuring my likeness. Do you think any of those dickless little wonders would have done something like that to a Muslim? Pretend everything about me is exactly the same, except I'm a Muslim. Can you imagine? Can you imagine how fast the site admin would have, the brown stain wouldn't have spread across his pants faster, and he would have pulled that story down, kick banned whoever was responsible for it. There it is. I'm tempted to just go on file and just go and change all my legal, all the information on my legal files to, from Baptist to Muslim, just to see how fast it greases the wheels in my life. As I'm very angry right now, and I'm fixated on this. What a surprise! I've got a few days ahead of me. I'm going to be busy. I'm going to be busy I'm going to be busy transferring my stories over to a new archive. And no, I'm not going to delete I am going to make them work for this every step of the way. I'm going to leave my stories on their website until they get off, I'm not going to do their work for them. I'm going to host my stories elsewhere. I'm going to keep them on FilmFiction, and I'm going to make them have to get up and do it themselves. I've already downloaded backups of all my stories. So, I'm not coming off well. I know that. I know I'm not. Everybody. I'm not a nice person. I've never been a nice person. I've never been liked, and there's a reason for that. I've never been a popular person. Never been a well-liked person. My social skills are non-existent. and all the lecture. I can see a mountain of lectures about how I should be more like Jesus. Does flipping tables and chasing people with a whip come in that list? Yep. I'm so tired of being lectured by people about how I should be more like Jesus when they couldn't even come within 100 miles of being like Jesus themselves. If they saw Jesus in real life walking out, they wouldn't let him in the house. Everybody thinks he looked like Buddy Jesus. I guarantee you that if the real life Jesus came through people's downtown, through the downtown, he would be raining all over everybody's parade with what he had to say to all of us. Why don't you be more like Jesus? You don't want me to be more like Jesus. You don't like anything he had to say. Why do you think you want me to be more like him? I know I'm not coming off on my, I'm not getting off on my best foot with a lot of people out there right now. And I've accepted that. I've accepted that as my fate. Because I've spent my whole, no more. It's been too many years. Too many years like that. Not gonna do it anymore. I can't begin to describe to you how many years I spent as a kid. How many years I spent miserable because people didn't like me. And all the crap I put up with. All the crap I put up with. I love how it is. I'm supposed to be, I'm supposed. Why don't you be? What they mean is, why don't you be more nice? I love how I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be so nice. At the same time, I'm supposed to tell people things that they don't want to hear, that they don't like, and that they are guaranteed to give me grief over. I've watched people. I've watched our leaders, politicians, preachers. I've watched as they have soft soaped everything they had to say, and the screams and accusations of hate monger only got louder. You want to know how nice Jesus was? Woe unto the scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites. He described them as open. He would describe people as open sepulchre. You know what he was telling them? He was standing there. He was using the nastiest possible terms to describe these people. He was calling them open sepulchres. You know what a sepulchre is? It's a tomb. It's a graveyard. A tomb. And you could smell the corpses rotting inside. And he was calling them an open tomb full of rotting corpses. And in that time, that was just about as nasty as you could get. Nice has an incredibly limited realistic market. I'm sick of being told that I'm supposed to sit there while people, I'm supposed to keep on being nice while people around me treat me like shit. That while people use their, while that I'm supposed to sit there, and if somebody decides to rob me, I'm supposed to let them do it. If somebody decides to uh, abuse me, I'm supposed to stand there and let them do it because that's being more Christian. The Apostle Paul, he went down into the arenas 3 times. You know what I'm saying? Into the arenas where where they threw the Christians to the lions. He came back out. He didn't just stand there and let the lions gnaw on him. He fought, and he survived. There's nowhere in the Bible where we're expected to be doormats. And on a personal, for years, screw it. One of the first lessons I've learned in life is that people are that the majority of the world is going to just basically hate me on sight. Not because not because I'm a not nice person, but because of what I believe, because of what I say. Look out there. The people in this world would rather cuddle up to a bunch of goat raping, uh, head lopping, mutilating, homicidal lunatics than they would than they would to make common ground with a group of Christians. They'll sit there, watch uh, Muslims chop Christians' head off, drown them, set them on fire, watch them murder and rape and murder women and children. And they will watch all these things and they will turn around and call the Christians hate mongers. Christians still take pity on this world and still try and win them over and still try and convince them that they need Christ and still try and sell them give them the message of salvation. Why? Because as absolute as the absolute utter shit you treat Christians like in this world, what's coming for you after this life makes everything that you inflict on us in this life look like absolutely nothing. And we know it, and we pity you. And we still try and save you from yourselves. I quit trying to win a popularity contest a long time ago. So don't think for a minute that the love of the Lord Jesus doesn't preclude giving you an ass kicking when you need it. We're Christians, not doormats. And we will, with God's blessing, kick up a ruckus to protect ourselves and to protect our own. When the Christians went down in those pits with those lions, it wasn't always the lion that came out. Just remember that. You know what I especially like? I especially liked how another round, anytime another round of these abusive shenanigans started up on this particular site, uh, and I would start, uh, whenever I start bringing it out in public, everybody starts talking about, oh, he's throwing a fit now, he's throwing a temper tantrum, he's making a ruckus, he's causing a fuss. I've tried to handle things privately with those admins. I have. They started giving me trouble on one of my stories. I privately emailed them and said, "What the problem? What the dealio? And they started giving me this shuck and jive runaround. And no matter what I did, they kept it up. and they were making all these excuses, and I said, this is bull. And so I brought it out in public. These people. This is. I went all the way up to. This, I talked to the mods. I talked to the site admin, and they were all all lockstep. You'd think they were the Kotaku editors buried hip deep in Anissa Sarkeesian's crotch. I'm sorry, that mental image nobody needs. That's going too far. I apologize for that. I'm letting my bad mood run run roughshod with me, so I apologize for that. But they would go in lockstep. They would, and when I would bring it out in public, they would, I would be, they would be, I would be dealing with this abuse. I would be dealing with people who were posting profanity in my forums because they wanted to get even with me for saying anything against homosexuality. These internet heroes of the gay pride movement. And they would be libeling me. They would be slandering me. They would be posting my links to my stories in pornographic story lists and more. Just any kind of petty persecution they could come up with. And I would complain to the mods, and the mods just shrugged and yawned and pretended nothing was happening. And so I brought it out in public, and suddenly, when I made it public that the admins weren't doing anything, suddenly I, was throwing a tantrum. I was the one causing the problem. I was, raising a ruckus. It basically boils down to, Mommy, he's hitting back. They don't know what to do when they suddenly come up on Planet Reality. Things get real, and the people that they are abusing, you see this crap over and over and over again. You see it. You remember, but I've talked about this before. You go to, you look at the hippie movement of the '60s. You think that the Occupy Wall Street movement, you think all these kids are spoiled little shits now? You should see how their parents and grandparents acted in the '60s. Just unbelievable. Just go dig up some photos from that era. You'll get an education you won't want. And they would go out, they would riot, and and they would do anything they wanted. Just absolute obscene, vile, nasty public behavior. And then Kent State. And it was like they could shoot back. Oh, hey, ho, ho, ho. Maybe we don't want this revolution after all, Ringo. Say you want a revolution. back in the 90s. Had a bunch of these little, well, shoot, back in the Second Gulf War, not 10 years ago, not 15, what is it, about, oh, after 2001, after September 11th, had the anti-war crowd started abusing soldiers in hospitals and screaming, yelling, and throwing their temper tantrums in the street and out there in posters of Bush equals Hitler and just every other just. I can show you photos, photo albums from those parades and those marches. These people were just animals, and then one day they said, oh, we're going to stop the war. They're going to protest and blockade a military storehouse. Some warehouses where they bring in materials and equipment for the soldiers and then ship it out. And so they decided to blockade the gates, and the guards on the front gates showed them what that meant. And they came out with those guns and fired rubber bullets into the crowd and dowel rods and other semi-lethal riot weapons, and all of a sudden next week suddenly no more protests. Whoa! You mean that they'll this whole revolution thing might mean we get shot at? Whoa, not gonna have that. Let me get back to my safe zone. Suck on my nappy and get my binky and suck on my binky and cuddle my teddy bear. They all went online, just crying on Tumblr, showing everybody photographs of their bruises. And everybody in the world just laughed at them. And boy, howdy. It's amazing how these little brave social justice warriors just fold like, just when anybody so much as fights back, just slaps them. And suddenly the whole world falls to pieces on them. They just can't cope. And when nobody cares, all of a sudden they grow up a few years. Whoa, hey, maybe this whole arrested adolescent thing isn't worth it. This is the reason we got these people out there in the streets behaving in ways that would have, in unspeakable ways out in public, because they think that there is no consequence. And it is going to cross a Rubicon. It is going to cross a threshold. It's going to cross a point of no return. We are going to get, sooner or later, we are going to get into a serious national crisis. We are on the brink of a dozen different forms of catastrophe at any given point. And we've got people in office who are pushing it. We've got people in power right now who are pushing as hard as they can to get this nation to topple, because they figure they'll sit up in their ivory towers and get to listen to the sound the smash makes. That's a basic summation of it. And when we are in a real crisis situation, nobody's going to be willing to put up with this nonsense. They are not going to put up for a second with these social justice warriors or these tumblerinas. They are not going to put up with these depraved, deviant freaks parading in the street, waving their junk in children's faces. They are not going to put. Society is not going to put up with it. They are not going to have time for it. It's the same way that when things really started getting serious with the economy, when people really had something to really worry about, these environmentalists suddenly lost what little traction they had. All these global warming rootin' tootin' crusaders suddenly realized that maybe the collapse of Western civilization in an economic implosion was a little bit more important than the worldwide average temperatures going up 2 degrees in 2 centuries. When things get serious, when things really start getting serious, most of this bullcrap that we are putting up with is going to vanish like snow in a blast furnace. That is the sole comfort I have right now, dealing with these jerkalongs. I posted a new story, Highland Kruger. Posted a new story on Film Fiction, and the mods are at it again. The mods are at it again. They're attacking me, and they're blocking. Even I actually comply. I complied with their requests. 3 times I went in and changed the file. 3 times I went in. Once was for the rating settings and for a couple other things. One of the complaints they've leveled against me, the description in the short description in the story post is not detailed enough. That was the reason for blocking it. And now they're accusing me of plagiarism again. And Meester in particular is saying that I have not cooperated. I cooperated with it. I went back in, changed the story, rewrote it, posted it, repost it, repost and change, and he's basically Meester has taken it upon himself to threaten to lock me out of the site if I submit the story again. And everybody under the sun is coming out and saying, "Oh, this is bullcrap." Doesn't mean a thing. Every writer on that forum could come out and say these moderators are abusing their power, and it's not going to make a difference. So I am in the process. I'm going to be moving my stories to either fanfiction.net or to Archive of Our Own. I'm looking at Archive of Our Own. Hopefully, their website is a little bit more user friendly than the old fanfiction.net. Fanfiction's got a lot of great story. Fanfiction.net's got a lot of great stories on it, but its interface is a mess. It's outdated by years, and it's really difficult to use, especially compared to the one I'm used to on Film Fiction. I'll be honest with you. I've stayed with film fiction as long as I have because I came to the conclusion no matter where you go, it's going to be the same story. There's still going to be people posting raunchy stories and people doing this and people doing that and people, and people hassling you if you don't toe the politically correct social justice line. But this has gotten egregious. And they have, and is it basically, they've just peed in my cornflakes one too many times. And I'm going to make a point of telling every single would-be writer out there, stay away from film fiction at any cost. As long as they have their current crop of mods, as far as they're concerned, you're their bitch. And they can do it, and they are more concerned with staying on good terms with they're more concerned on staying on good terms with each other, with all with whichever little member of their inner circle is the jackass in question, than they are in with being fair to the people who post the content on their website. And thus far, I've pretty much narrowed it down. I'm pretty much convinced it's Meester, because that name keeps cropping up whenever we go through one of these rounds of jerk along sessions. In case you haven't guessed, I'm kind of upset. Anyway. Well, I'm glad that people like the story. Glad that people like the story. I'm just incredibly tired and disappointed. I have to. I just look. I don't want to have to deal with. Nobody wants to deal with a-holes. Okay. They're making if it had been anybody else, if it had been anybody else that had posted the story, they wouldn't have cared. That's the thing of it. They accuse me of plagiarism because the opening paragraphs of the story match up with the original story. I went in and I changed the narrative. I changed some of the dialogue. I changed. It's a spin-off story, fools. And they're playing this game again. But if it had been anybody but me, they wouldn't have even looked. They wouldn't even look twice. They are deliberately picking over my works and my stories to find excuses to give me a hard time. They haven't done it with any of my older stories. But give them time. Give them time. There's nothing more petulant than a bunch of useless people with too much time on their hands. They don't expect me to say anything nice about them. Don't expect me to have anything to say about it. They started out, the admins I had when I started out, they said many of them didn't, they openly said, we don't agree with you. I don't agree with him in the least, but this, he has a right to say what he says. And now they've had a couple of mod change-ups, and suddenly everything changed. It's interesting that this changed about the same time that they got this sort of problem started cropping about the time they got some new mods that moved over from EquestriaDaily.com. And it's of note that Equestria Daily, one of the criticisms by fans of Equestria Daily is that the mods of that site were biased and were playing favorites and we're deliberately ignoring or blocking stories that were very popular in favor of others, and now all of a sudden we've gotten one or two mods from Equestria Daily working in FimFaction.net, and my oh my, look at that rash that's broken out in the site. I wonder what could be causing it. Either way, it doesn't matter who the initial cause. It comes down to this: is that the mods have decided that they basically decided that FimFiction is their personal sex toy. Something fabricated for their own personal self-gratification. Oh, I'm glad you saw the change in the story. I'm glad. Yeah, yeah. I did make it. I did make that small change in the storyline. I figured I sort of overlooked that. Okay, look at it. The original story has Starlight Glimmer appearing in the you have somebody who's appearing in the exact same place at the exact same time every single day, doing the exact same thing every single day. And when they step through the door, they never, ever, ever, ever remember what happened the day before. No prankster worth their whoopee cushion would pass that up. Rainbow Dash and Pinkie Pie would be all over that. It just I'm sorry I'm sorry I'm so cranky and mean and uh, sorry I'm such a grouch today. I really am. I'm just it's just a little too much to deal with right now. as always, for those who don't know, for those who are listening, for those who don't know, I do online drawing commissions, $20 for black and white, $40 for color. That's the starting price. It goes, you go to my website, www.rhjunior.com/commissions, and the instructions are there. But if you like my stories, if you like my comics, I have a tip jar on my website, www.rhjunior.com. Again, there's a little PayPal button right there. There's also, if you want to throw a dollar in the hat. There's also a Patreon thing. There's also a site. There is an online store on the website in case you want to order one of my many books. They're actually collections of comics. I'm hoping to eventually get off my butt and finish writing my original story, Sanguine Chronicles, and post it for sale. But it's kind of ground to a halt of late. Some days I feel like the muses have abandoned me. You know? Well, like God took one look at my talent and saw how I was using it and said, let's see how you do without this. And yoink! I'm old, I'm tired, I'm unhealthy, I'm depressed. Not clinically depressed, at least not yet. I haven't been clinically diagnosed as depressed, but this is one of the things that's troubling. Nobody ever told me Among the things people never told me, nobody ever taught me in school how to balance a checkbook. My parents never taught me. I had to learn the hard way. I had to figure my way around it. Nobody ever told me how to, never in school was I taught how to do tax forms, uh, or how to make an investment, or I was never told all these supposed social nets that we have. I was never taught how to go about applying for disability, or I have no idea how to go about getting a handicap parking space sticker, even though I've reached a point where I could probably desperately use one. If there's help out there for me, I don't know how to ask for it. Some days I just want to go up to my teachers, go up to my parents. What, do you think I was going to learn this by osmosis? What are you waiting for? I want to go back in time. What are you waiting for? Tell me these things. Teach me these things. And here I am, 44 years old, and I'm still fumbling around in the dark. I hesitate to start doing anything because I'm scared of screwing it up. And it's a stupid reason not to, but it's hard to get past. I'm supposed to go through life feeling like a moron because I don't know things that nobody ever taught me. I go to the hospital. Who's your family doctor? Family doctor? What's a family doctor? I didn't know what a family doctor. I didn't know that I was supposed to go out, track down a doctor, and become a permanent client. Nobody ever told me that. I'm saying, I'm terrified. Half the time, I'm terrified that I know all these things I'm supposed to do, but I don't know where to begin doing them. On the other half, I'm terrified because I have no idea how many other things are on the list that I don't even know exist that I'm supposed to do. first job I ever had was the work for tuition arrangement I had with the college I went to. I had no idea. Did you know I didn't even know what overtime was? I'm not kidding you. I did not know what overtime was. I thought that overtime was if you worked, you know, any more time than what you were scheduled. That was overtime. I didn't know that there was this 40-hour limit that you had to pass first. I didn't. Nobody had told me. I was going around, oh, you got enough hours? Oh, yeah, I got plenty of overtime. Nobody told me these things. And then they got mad at me for not knowing them. My life 101. This is my life, flying blind. Most of my life consists of flying blind and hoping that all the troubles I see rising on the horizon will drive off into a ditch before I get to them. There's no way to live. what gets me is I'm sitting here. I have got to be on the bottom rung as far as income and taxes go. And I know that there is probably some way that I could be working the system so that I am not being eaten alive by taxes every year. I can't game the system when I don't even know the game. If I ask for help, they be coming in through here. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you? Why didn't? I just want to scream at them sometimes. The people that come through and try, when I go and ask people for help, why didn't you do this? I didn't know they existed. I didn't know that was an option. I didn't even know what that was. And then they get mad at me for not knowing it, and I want to scream, why didn't you teach me this stuff? You know, Similar story. I signed up to play Pee Wee football when I was a kid. Stupidest thing I ever did. I'm not an athlete. I played baseball, I played basketball, I played football, I did all those things. I didn't know how to play. I literally did not know the rules of football. All I knew was football goal. That was it. I didn't understand what all, it took me years before I figured out what all that fourth down stuff was about. Seriously, I did not understand it. And my dad's idea of teaching me about football was take me to the library, get me a library book about football, and say, there you go. Or, he didn't even do that. He said, go to the library, get a book. I'm sitting there reading this, preparing for Pee Wee football. They didn't teach us anything about football when we got there. They assumed that you got there, you already knew all the rules and how to play. And I didn't know. I didn't know nothing about football. I didn't know that the tackles were only supposed to tackle the ball carrier. I didn't know this. I just huge gaps in my knowledge, but nobody was willing to fill them in. Nobody asked what I knew. Nobody tried to help me learn. I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know things, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And this was my life. I've been fighting my whole life, half blind. I've been playing the game my whole life, half blind, bluffing most of the time, and not a dang clue. It's one of the things you hate about joining a new video game. You ever join a Morpger, you join up with World of Warcraft, it's like, you're the noob. You don't know nothing. And they expect you to jump out of the gate knowing the whole damn game. If you've ever played those games, you know what I'm talking about. Gamers are assholes. They're a-holes. They have no mercy. They have no pity. They assume that that you were born with a joystick in your hand. And nobody's going to take and you constantly forget begging for gold. You're begging for information. What does this mean? Everybody talking in abbreviations and Okay, you need to get your DPS up before you go to the AMV and the DMV and the XYZ and the KBZ. And okay, okay. Life, real life, is just like that, only worse. And I think most of it is because we have spent the last century with the attitude, oh, they'll learn that at school. The old somebody else will do it routine. And we have absolutely no clue how little the kids are being taught, you know? Absolutely no clue. And by the time we figure out what we haven't been taught, it's too late. We're already out there flailing away. For most of us, if real life was a sport, we'd be out there on the football field flailing away at the ball with a hockey stick going, I'm going to get a home run. That's how uninformed we are. don't think for a minute. When I get stressed out about about how our society is hanging on, don't think for a minute I'm blaming. I know exactly who is responsible for the catastrophes that are hanging over all our heads right now. And we elected the sons of bitches. I don't understand the people that that blame. I mean, people that blame God for the situation we're in are not observant. They're not. They're just not. Because anybody with a pair of eyes can see it wasn't God who passed the bill that's, he's not the one that passed the tax laws, okay? He's not the one that passed the bill that put a moratorium on dozens of different alternative fuels. He's not the one that is opening up our borders to our national enemies. He's not the one that prevented us from drilling in Anwar when we desperately needed to start. He's not the one that that yanked us out of Iraq before the job was done. He's not the one that passed all the tax laws and all the. He's not the one that put us on fiat currency. He's not the one that put our kids in government schools. He's not the one that He's not the one that sits in 9 black robes and violates the Constitution every other day of the week. It's not him. We know who's the name of our pain. We just won't do anything about it. People would rather sit around and blame God for what the politicians and leaders we chose have been doing. He's not the one that leaves these bastards in power again and again, year after year. But to be fair to us, we found out too late that it's almost impossible to get an incumbent out. We screwed up when we set up our electoral system. We set up a system that practically guaranteed that any incumbent, anybody already in office would have almost nothing to worry about. But here we are. We figured out too late that the laws that the government passes, the laws that the federal government passes, affects everyone. But nobody in Connecticut gives a rat's ass if the laws their senator or senator or congressman gets passed screws over the people in Canada. Or in Alaska, rather. Nobody in New York making all these, nobody cares that, nobody in New York State cares that Hillary Clinton's laws are hurting, the laws that Hillary Clinton votes for and supports are hurting the people in Texas. And we're stuck with a system where every year we say throw the bums out and nobody ends up leaving.
And the only chance we have of changing that is if they introduce term limits, which is about the equivalent of expecting somebody to fire themselves from the cushiest job they've ever had in their lives. You'd have better luck hoping for a Teamster to vote for a pay cut.
Not enough room.
After the last couple of chapters of Great Alicorn Hunt, what was that, Jonathan Kruger? What were you saying? After the last couple of chapters of the Great Alicorn Hunt? Oh, you were saying about the muesli. Yeah, the problem is that the muse, well, more like the muse is running amok all over the place in places where I can't make a living. I have been so tempted to put up a tip jar on my stories. I've seen several other writers doing it, and it's very tempting. But I am scared to death of what might, I mean, the stuff I'm writing is fan fiction, and if the companies, if Hasbro gets a bug up its butt about it, that could be that, they find out you're making money selling fan fiction. Oh my! You might as well just jump feet first in the blender yourself. I'll make it okay. I'm gonna lay it on that. It's just right now. I may do it anyway, even though it is questionably legal. I need to increase my income, and I'm slamming up against a brick wall with these comics here. I'm just out of. I just don't know. I'm. Uh,
seems like the only thing I have to do to make what I do just implode on itself is to try and make a living at it.
Yeah, it is copyright violation. Technically, it is. Making profit off of a copyrighted work, off of a derivative of a copyrighted work, is technically copyright violation. Of course, there are all sorts of rules and exceptions uh, for parody or satirical use, artistic license. There's all sorts of little loopholes and junk, but basically the rule is whoever has the most money gets the copyright decision ruled in their favor. Let's be realistic. Disney hasn't gotten away with years of plundering the cultural heritage of half the European nations because they're sloppy at their copyright work. Thank you for being there, everyone. Thank you for listening. Thank you for reading. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your donations, and thank you for buying the books and the CDs and everything else. Thank you. Because sometimes your words of support are the only thing uh, pinning my, the last of my, vestiges of my dignity in place. I wish I could do better by you, because you're my fans, and
Okay, it's been about 4 hours now. I'm going to call it a night. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Take care of yourselves. If you don't, nobody else will.